Hello and welcome to How Not to Play Magic the Gathering. Today we're going to do something a little bit different. Might turn into a new series. We'll see how it goes. In a lot of my previous videos about Magic Arena and how to run about Magic Arena, I like to say to do your 5 wins based on whatever your quest is for the day. So my quest today is to cast 30 red or white spells. So we want to do 30, so we want to play a Boros or a red-white deck. Normally, I'll say to go into your starter deck duel and just play your starter deck duel, until you get your 5 wins, and then you're good for the day. You keep doing that for the entire season, you'll get all of your rewards for your Mastery Pass. But these starter decks for the 2023 season that we're in, if we notice, are all alchemy decks. Which means they have that little alchemy symbol next to them, and they are only good in the alchemy format. I haven't really talked a whole lot about different formats, but Magic is trying to push Standard more, and a lot of people like Standard and enjoy Standard, and I'm one of them. I personally don't like Alchemy. Feel free to haze me in the comments below if Alchemy is your favorite format, and please tell me why. It's got a lot of weird mechanics like Perpetual, where equipment, or in this case, or cards, always have whatever this ability is regardless of what zone they go into, and different things that can conjure. In the case of Hex Gold Sledge, you just get this other creature onto the battlefield, or draft a card from a spell book, and they don't even tell you what cards are in the spell book, so you don't even know what cards you might get out of it. It's just a complete crapshoot. I mean, Magic has enough random variants in it that you don't need to add more by using these alchemy cards. So let's say you enjoy this deck, you want to play this deck, but you want to play it in Standard. Well, there's a way to do that. So we go up here into our decks interface, and we can see down here under our starter decks, we have all of the starter decks available for the 2023 season. You've got your monocolored decks like Aerial Domination, and you've got all of the dual color decks from the starter decks here also. So we'll just go down here to our Rebel Armory, which is the deck we want to play today. And on the bottom of our screen, we will click the clone option. So once we clone the deck, we will then close our starter deck tab and go into My Decks. And we see right here is Rebel Armory 2. Well, just so that we know what we're doing, we'll go ahead and rename that to Standard Rebel Armory, so that we know this is going to be our standard version of the Rebel Armory deck. So what does that really mean? Well, first of all, we're going to have to go in here to the deck details just by clicking that little header. Where it says Alchemy, we will drop that down and select Standard. Once we do that, we can go back into the deck itself, and it will highlight the alchemy cards, or any card really, that is not playable in the current Standard. You'll see if you do this with the blue-green deck, the Scry-focused Lord of the Rings deck, almost all of that deck is going to show up red because Lord of the Rings is not a standard legal Magic the Gathering set. But that's a video for a different day. Today we're going to be looking at what we can do to turn this Rebel Armory deck into a standard playable deck. So it looks like we don't have to do too much, honestly. So we're going to have to replace Kemba's Outfitter, Hex Gold Sledge, and Bladehold Cleaver, the 3 alchemy specific cards. And so to do that, we will just use our little search engine here. The Rebel Armory deck cares about equipment. and equipped creatures. So we are going to do a search for equipment, and that will filter our results to all of the equipment cards like Lion Sash and all of the cards that care about equipment like Kemba Ka Enduring. Something to note, it will only show cards currently in your inventory. So if you go into advanced filters, you can select not collected as well, and that will show up cards like Bride's Gown that I don't have in my collection that I still might want to include in my deck. If you do want to use these cards, then you'll have to utilize wild cards in order to actually put them in your deck. And you get that just by opening up packs that you get from doing drafts or other events. Or you can buy them from the store. But as you buy packs, you open packs, you get wild cards, either from the pack itself or through pack progression. But I think I've covered that in a different video as well, so we're not going to go too much into that. We're just going to look at what we can do to put this deck into standard. So first of all, the cards we need to get rid of are Kemba's Outfitter, which is an uncommon, Hex Gold Sledge, another uncommon, and Bladehold Cleaver, a rare. So to make this kind of easier and keep the same power level, we're just going to swap out the same rarity for the same rarity. So we're going to go ahead and start with our rare slot and find something for Bladehold Cleaver. There are a few different options here. We could put in another copy of Kemba Ka Enduring, which is a very good card, and having more copies of it would make it more likely to show up in our gameplay. A lot of times you'll want to have either 2 or 3 of your key pieces. So Kemba Ka Enduring gives all equipped creatures +1/+1 and the ability to create cat tokens later on, automatically equip them. I mean, this is a really good card for this deck. So if you put in 2, even 3 copies of it, even though it's legendary and you can only have 1 on the field, that will help to ensure that you do see him every game and are able to put him down. Let's see what else we've got. Another copy of Danitha that we could put in. Let's see, we've got another copy of Rook that we could put in, another Dragon Wing Glider. These are all very good cards. Astor Bearer of Blades is another card that really fuels the deck. You can look through and pick out an equipment to put into your hand. It gives all equipment equip 1. This is a very good card for this deck, and having another one would be a very good idea. It's also mana value 4, which is the exact same that Bladehold Cleaver is, so it wouldn't affect the curve at all. And so that would be a very good choice as well. As far as other cards, Eater of Virtue is a very good equipment from Kamigawa, that whenever a creature dies, it exiles, and then Eater of Virtue basically gains whatever evergreen text it had. Flying, First Strike, Double Strike, Death Touch, all of that. So if they do kill your creature, those abilities stay on the equipment and then can then be equipped to the next person. The card, however, I'm most interested in personally is Lion Sash. This card gives the deck something that it doesn't have. With Lion Sash, you can pay 1 white, exile a card from a graveyard, and put a +1 counter on Lion Sash if that was a permanent. Now, you can use that to exile your own stuff as it dies, or as a very unique method of attack, you can exile a card from your opponent's graveyard for only 1 white mana. Now, we've seen in the starter deck duels that there are cards like Black Green that has a lot of graveyard reanimation in it. So as the opponent goes to reanimate something from their graveyard, you can pay 1 white mana and exile that card so that it does not come back into play. So like when Sauron targets one of the big creatures to come back as a Nazgul, or as a Wraith, You can pay 1 mana, exile it, Sauron loses his trigger. In the blue-black deck, where you've got Halo Scabs that target an instant or sorcery to put back on top of the library, you could use Lion Sash to exile that card. Even though it's an instant or sorcery, you won't get the +1 counter, but you will exile that card and effectively negate the Halo Scarab's ability. And I believe the red-blue Arcane Aggression deck has similar effects. And so this card gives the deck a very unique angle of attack that it would not normally have. So if I'm going to get rid of the Bladehold Cleaver, I think I'm going to want to put in Lion Sash. I think that that would be a very good addition to this deck because it gives the deck something new. So as we go out of rare and into our uncommon slot, so we've got Hexgold Sledge and Kemba's Outfitter both that we're going to need to get rid of because they're alchemy cards and we're wanting to go into the standard format. Kemba's Outfitter is a 1-drop, and so that is a very important place on your mana curve, because if you can start the game with a creature already on the battlefield, that is a very good solid tempo play, and that is something that we want to keep in the deck. We want to be able to start strong, keep pressuring your opponent, because even though we are running basically tokens, this is a very aggressive deck. It wants to be on the board swinging out every turn, because that's the whole point of having these big beefy equipments. And so we can even go up to our filters and we can filter it specifically for the 1 mana slot. So this is all of our 1 mana equipment. And out of all of our uncommon 1 mana equipments that are currently in standard, one of them really stands out to me, and that is Rabbit Battery. Once again, this is from Kamigawa Neon Dynasty. It is a 1/1 haste creature that is also an equipment. So turn 1, you can cast your Rabbit Battery. You can attack with a 1/1 haster on turn 1, possibly before your opponent has even played their first land. And that is the kind of tempo that you want to have in an aggressive deck like this. So we're going to go ahead and put in 2 Rabbit Batteries. And also with these, it has the reconfigure ability, which is the exact same as an equip ability. So for 1 red, we can equip the Rabbit Battery to a different creature. So let's say on turn 4, we cast a Bladegraph Aspirant. It is a 2/3 menace, but for 1 more red, we can equip our Rabbit Battery, and that will give it +1/+1 to make it a 3/4 menace with haste that can attack immediately. And so that is just a very good synergy to have when you're, especially in the late game, when you get, mana flooded or you have extra mana to spend. You can pop your Rabbit Battery on whatever creature comes out this turn, give them haste, start attacking right away, and if they do have something to kill the aspirant, then your Rabbit Battery falls off and is still a 1/1 creature that you can still keep swinging with. So this is a very good, very strong, tempo-y artifact equipment that just goes really well with the deck. And while it's might not be as strong as Kemba's Outfitter, which lets you perpetually put equip 1 onto your Dragon Wing Glider, it does really help out the deck and put it in that really strong aggro tempo position. So Hexgold Sledge is a little bit bigger, a little bit beefier, so we don't need to look at the 1-drop slot. So we'll go ahead and look at all of our equipment that we have available. And there is quite a few. I am interested in actually 3 cards very specifically for our last uncommon slot. And that is, first of all, Oxida Finisher. It is a 7/5 trample for 7 mana, but it has affinity for equipment, which means the more equipment you have out, let's say you've got your Rabbit Battery, your Lion Sash, your Halberd, your Batter Fist, that's 4 equipment already, and so your Oxida Finisher is now only going to be 3 mana to cast for a 7/5 trample creature. And then you can spend 1 mana to attach your Rabbit Battery, and now it's an 8/6 trample haste. That is a very big creature, and a very strong threat that your opponent is going to have to deal with very quickly. Brass Knuckles has a very similar mode here. It is 4 mana for this equipment. When you cast it, copy it. So you essentially end up with 2 Brass Knuckles for 4 mana. For 1 equip, you can attach it to a creature, and if they have 2 or more equipments, they have double strike. So you'd think, for 6 mana you can give something double strike, but honestly it's a little bit better than that. Because let's say that you already have a creature down with the Hexgold Halberd, or with the Barbed Batterfist. So you now have a 3/1 Barbed Batterfist. You pay the 1 mana to equip a Brass Knuckle to it. That is now its 2nd equipment, and it is now a 3/1 double strike. The same with your Hexgold Hoverwings. Let's say you have a 3/2 flying. Well, now you just pay that 1 more mana, equip the Brass Knuckles to it, and now you have a 3/2 flying double strike, which is going to be a very serious clock that your opponent is going to have to find a way around. So those are both very good cards and very good replacements for the Hexgold Sledge. But I personally am going to go with the Citizen's Crowbar. It is not as big, it is not as flashy, but it is only 2 mana versus Hexgold Sledge's 3. When it enters the battlefield, it gets equipped to a 1/1 Citizen token, which is the exact same thing that all of the Mirrodin stuff does, except that attaches to a 2/2. It gives the creature +1/+1 and sacrifice Citizen's Crowbar to destroy target artifact or enchantment. Much like the Lion Sash before, this card gives the deck a very different angle of attack. So nowhere else in this deck do you have the ability to deal with opposing artifacts or enchantments. You've got Rebel Salvo that can do 5 damage to a creature. You've got Heirloom Battlehelm, which once again can do damage to a creature or a planeswalker, but there's really no way of taking care of opposing equipments. Even Planar Disruption can only target a creature, planeswalker, or artifact. It still can't target enchantments. And even that, it doesn't get rid of them, it just makes it so that they can't activate their abilities. If they have a static ability, like Baird's create a soldier every turn, that will still trigger, that will still go on the stack. So Citizen's Crowbar gives you the very unique ability for 1 white sacrificing this artifact, you can destroy a Virtue of Persistence, which is a very strong enchantment that is in standard right now. That will get back a creature from your graveyard, your opponent's graveyard, every turn. And so a card like Citizen's Crowbar can help you stand up against something like that. So, like I said, this gives the deck a very unique angle of attack that it would not have otherwise. And so I think for that reason, we're going to go with the Citizen Crowbar. Now, if you want to use the Brass Knuckles or the Oxida Finisher, by all means, do so. Have fun with it. This is your chance to really make this deck your own. And so if you can find a way to do that, then by all means, go for it. But this is the very least that you have to do to turn the deck into a standard deck. Now, there's certainly other things you can tweak to it. It is still very much a starter deck. It didn't use very many wild cards at all to get here. Like I said, 1 rare and 4 uncommon, and you're good to go. So let's go ahead and see how the deck does, and then we'll be able to go into our post-game matches where we can see how the deck did and what other cards we might be able to add to help improve the deck. So we're just going to go into basic match finder. We're not going to do ranked. We're just going to test the deck out through just a regular standard best of 1. We're going to select our standard Rebel Armory and find ourselves an opponent. This looks like a pretty good hand. We've got both of our colors, so we'll go ahead and keep. If we get up to 4 mana, we've got all the bombs in the world. But no removal. So I think putting down Citizen's Crowbar here is going to be a good way to at least present a blocker. Opponent looks like they might be on mono black control, in which case we're just dead anyway. So he's going to duress to get rid of my Volshock Splitter. That's interesting. I thought for sure he would have gone for Aster or Nahiri. But once again, if he is on a mono black plan, he's probably got a lot of creature removal. So getting rid of the artifact is going to help him out more. So if I attack, he's probably going to block with the Occultist. That will draw him a card plus trigger Vron. So I honestly don't think I attack here, because that will just promote my opponent's game plan. By sitting back, I make him come to me, which, honestly, this is a bad matchup. He's going to have a lot of creature removal. He's kicking Final Flourish by sacrificing the creature to get its effect anyway. And we finally found some removal, so this is very good for us. So we can use our Hurloon Battle Helm, we can even kick it, we've got the mana and nothing else to do with it. So we can go ahead, kill Vron, gain back some life, and start going on the offensive. How long this lasts is entirely up to our opponent and what they draw. Probably a Shieldred. Alright, so this Virtue of Persistence is actually what I was talking about in the deck tech. Once they get up to 7 mana, they can cast this on the enchantment side, and at that point, our Citizen's Crowbar will just be able to blow it up. So I am definitely happy that we put that in now. So we still have our 4 mana, we can drop Aster, we can pick either Lion's Sash or Dragonwing Glider. Honestly, since he's got the Virtue plan going, I think we take Lion's Sash. So whenever he goes to target a card with Virtue of Persistence to put into play, we can actually use Lion's Sash to exile that card before it hits the battlefield, or before it even leaves the graveyard. Let's go ahead and drop Danitha here. I can put an aura or equipment from my hand or graveyard onto the battlefield. So I think we'll keep Lion's Sash in hand. We'll put the Volshock Splitter. Because of the Formyrdan, it actually brings its own creature into play anyway and attaches, so it was just a way to get it out of the graveyard and back onto the field. But that does force my opponent to deal with 2 creatures now, which he's probably just going to kill Danitha anyway. Alright. Alright, so opponent is now empty-handed. I think what I'm going to do here is Rabbit Battery, Nahiri, because of the affinity for equipment makes her cheaper if I cast the battery first. I can then reconfigure the Rabbit Battery onto Nahiri, swing with 2 attackers. I get 2 Nahiri triggers, and then opponent has to figure out whether or not to block. He chooses not to, and unfortunately I lose my Planar Disruption, which is unfortunate. I would have liked that card. Opponent's going to swing in, draw a couple cards. So they're now at 6 mana, so next turn they can use their Virtue of Persistence. And with the number of cards they're drawing, I'm going to assume that they have the swamp that they need. Which means that I want to put Citizen's Crowbar on a creature this turn. So I think we'll start off with our attacks. So we'll go ahead and swing, we'll get our Nahiri triggers. He does have a 2/2 that he can block with, so he's not dead. Alright, he's going to kill Nahiri. That works out for me. So we're going to do some damage. We'll go ahead and drop our land. We'll lose the other one. But now we can put our Crowbar onto our Rabbit, which we definitely want to do. And we can go ahead, drop our Sash. And now that's all I want to do, because I want to make sure that I have mana up for Crowbar and Sash to deal with the Virtue. So yes, as predicted, he casts Virtue of Persistence. He is not attacking, so we can actually use our Rabbit Battery. We can sacrifice the Citizen's Crowbar, destroy target artifact or enchantment. Alright, we'll go ahead and might as well load up. So we've got a 5/3 that we can swing in with. So now opponent has to block. If they don't block, they're pretty much dead from the Lion's Sash. So now I can activate Lion's Sash, exile a card from a graveyard, like that Virtue of Persistence. Lion's Sash gets a +1 counter, which transfers to my Rebel, and we can kill their creature. So now we can drop our second Batter Fist, and we are in a pretty good position here. If he tries to get anything back out of the graveyard, we can use Lion's Sash to eat it before it reanimates. Alright, that's fine. Let's see, I think we're going to put our Rabbit Battery, we're going to reconfigure it onto my second Rebel so that we can go to attack and present 2, well, not lethal threats, but at least 2 threats that aren't going to die to his 1/1. And opponent is very much on the back foot. He has to get rid of both of my creatures. Well, that will get rid of one of them. And that's it. He doesn't have a way of getting rid of the Lion's Sash, which is just going to kill him next turn. Alright, this isn't too bad of a hand. We've got at least both of our colors and something to do with them. So we will start off with our tap land, since I don't have anything to do on turn 1 anyway. See, they're on some kind of red-blue. I don't really want to start off with Baird into a red-blue deck, because they've probably got some kind of burn or removal. So we'll start off with our halberd first, because it's okay if the rebel dies, because I'll still have the equipment. Okay, they're on a catapult spells deck. Alright. So I think we'll need to kill that. Unfortunately, there's nothing else I can do. So yeah, basically they're setting up so that every time they cast a spell, they can just tim me for a whole bunch of damage. I think Hover Wings is going to be my play here, because that will give my Halberdier +1 that I can swing in with. He's probably got some kind of removal though. He was really eyeing that. Yep, something like a lightning strike. And then you can see him start to tim me for it, which I suppose is fine. And yep, every time he casts an instant, he can untap the Thermal Alchemist, the same as with the Catapult. And so he's just going to be casting a whole lot of card draw spells so that he can just keep refilling his hand over and over. So let's see, I can do Baird and Aspirant, or I can do Astor and Equip. I think I like Baird, because that will start giving me a go wide board, which he's not really going to be able to take care of very well. So he is going to keep pinging me for 1 over and over. Alright, he gets rid of my token. Is that player specific? Yep. Yep, those are all opponent specific. Okay, that is something that I don't have an answer for. See, I can either Aster, or I think we go... I think I just go to the air. So I can't really do anything against Urabrask. I'm just probably going to have to chump it into Oblivion. And he is just going to keep rocking me with those singular points of damage. This is a very good deck from the opponent. If you're going to upgrade the Arcane Aggression deck, this is a very good way to do it. And so he does get the Lightning Strike back that he can get rid of. He's going for the I guess going for the Flyer does make sense. Because, I mean, that's something. But getting rid of the body does not get rid of the equipment. So you can just pop that equipment onto something else, give that thing flying, and keep pressure on. And that is the resiliency of an equipment deck. Is that you really have to get rid of the equipment. Just getting rid of the onesie twosie token creatures is not going to stop the equipment deck. As we can see. Yeesh. Well, we do have War Whip, which is a good 3-drop disruption. We might need to cast on 2 just to keep tempo. I am not too happy with this hand. What are they on? Blue? I don't think casting Baird is the right play here. If they've got red, they can just... If they've got black, they can just kill it. Oh man. So I can either do War Whip, which does not, neither of those adds power. So really, it doesn't matter which one I cast. We'll do War Whip, it's the better equipment. Except he probably has a counter spell now. He's playing blue. Yup, I should have gone with the Halberd. Ah, I hate control. Alright, so now we know that our opponent is on blue-black control, and we are probably never going to land another spell. So we really have to look at the cards that we cast in the context that it's probably going to die. Whatever we cast is probably not going to land, so we kind of really need to cast dummy spells, for lack of a better word. A decoy spell. Except opponent is currently tapped out. I do not have a 4-mana play, though. Now, Planar Disruption can hit Kaido, not currently because he's phased out, but next turn, I can do Planar Disruption on Kaido. Or I could just Revo Salvo to kill it. Unfortunately, I don't have much of a turn here, because I don't really have a whole lot in hand. Now, opponent's answer to Planar Disruption or Rebel Salvo on Kaido is very simply to just cast another one. It's the exact same answer regardless. But it looks like he is trying to figure out why Baird didn't trigger, because for Baird you have to have an increase in power, which Halberd doesn't do.
I know something you don't know.
Oh, they've got some white too. Alright. Alright, so that's something. Opponent does look fairly well tapped out though, so I think... Nah, I think we'll just Planar Disruption. So that'll turn Kaido into a rock. And then we can drop a critter. Oh, that is kind of bad. So with Hitotsugu and Kairi, usually they're going to put their biggest spell on top that they want to cast for free. So if I kill Hitotsugu and Kairi immediately, they will get all that value. So I am going to not do that. We're going to go ahead, not attack, let them draw their card for the turn. And then we're going to attempt to... God. Well, that's not good. I guess we go ahead and kill Kairi here, because I don't really have any other option. I mean, I could wait to kill Ashiok, but if they plus Ashiok, then I'm just dead. What they get? A negate. So, they could have negated their own Ashiok.
So much drama from which to choose.
Alright, so... Okay, this is a very good play here. Aster will help me get something out of my deck. Rabbit Battery or a Hex Gold Halberd. Those don't help. Neither one of those help. Sure, we'll go with the Rabbit Battery. So opponent is fairly well tapped out here, so I've got pretty free reign. I don't have anything in my hand to bluff, so there's no reason. So we will just go ahead. Actually, I could take out Ashiok here. 5, 6, 7, or I could do half of his health. If I just attack him... So if I attack my opponent there, yes, I'll do half his health. But then on his next turn, he'll just use Ashiok to create 2 blockers, 2 chump blockers, so that I won't be able to do it again. So attacking Ashiok was the best play there to at least get that threat off the battlefield. Unfortunately, Breach the Multiverse is probably just going to ruin the game for me. He gets... my Bladegraph Aspirin is the best thing he got. Awesome. Apparently he didn't draw very well either. But that Hidetsugu and Kairi is going to be a very big problem that I don't know if I'm going to be able to get around. I could swing in with Astor, but if he puts a second Breach the Multiverse on top of his library, then Hidetsugu dying will just cast him a Breach the Multiverse. So I don't know that I want to do that either. So once again, I think I just passed the turn. Alright, he's gonna do some trimming. He did just draw a bunch of cards, so that's something he can do. Let's go ahead and equip our Halberd, which will give me first strike. And honestly, I think I just go in. Keeping him back isn't going to block the Hidetsugu. Yeah, I probably should have put the hover wing on him. Oh well. Oh, the first strike. The first strike gets rid of Hidetsugu anyway so that I don't take damage. Alright. So he is going to duress, see that all I have is a mountain. He can't make me discard it. So I might as well play it since he knows about it. There's no sense in bluffing a card that he knows is just a land. And now he's going to breach ×2. Nope, he's going to get rid of my first strike. Or he's going to figure out that the first strike is... Oh my goodness, he's got another one. I mean, he has drawn pretty much, you know, his entire deck, so... I mean, he's drawn literally 10 more cards than me. So it makes sense that he would have multiples. Ooh, Anasaurine, yeah. So this is where having a constructed deck kind of pulls out. Because he's going to be pulling Planeswalkers. He's going to be pulling all of these Mythics, Hidetsugu for days, Memory Deluge, Virtues. Like, he's going to be pulling all of these really strong cards. And I'm just going to be pulling a Barbed Batterfist. So, I mean, he's playing the kind of control mid-range, big top end game with Planeswalker after Planeswalker, and so yeah, there's just nothing I'm gonna be able to do against that. So, opponent's got Hidetsugu, which is gonna hit me for 5, Sorin, which is gonna keep making 2-3 lifelinkers, and Vraska, which is just going to kill anything I cast. So really, out of these 3 major threats, I can only really deal with one of them. And the other 2 are just going to kill me. I don't have any outs here. Yep, and he's just gonna keep drawing cards, and this game's over. Oh my goodness, more planeswalkers. Holy crap.
But I'm taking the credit. Sacrifices must be made.
Dire times call for dire.
That's it? Alright, well, opponent doesn't know that I have absolutely nothing I can do. So he just needs to swing in, kill me, and we'll just... Oh, I see. He just wanted to flex some more. Yeah. Look at all these planeswalkers I've got. Oh, he wants to go for the mill plan. Hand it to Fairy. Oh my goodness. Flex on opponent. Tell you what, we'll make it easy for you. You can't figure out what to do, I'll let you know. There's no way we're winning this game. Not against 6 planeswalkers, 3 Hitotsugus, and Virtue of Persistence. No. Congratulations, your big bundle of rares and mythics beat our starter deck. This is actually a pretty good hand. We've got Rabbit Battery on 1, Batter Fist on 2, followed by 2 removal spells on 3. I mean, this hand has a plan. And it looks like opponent is on mono red. So in the aggro versus aggro matchup, I'm pretty sure we are not going to make it out alive. A second Kumano, but no creature to follow it up. Very interesting. Kumano, not really the best card for our deck, because it's second chapter is whenever you cast a creature spell. Most of our creatures, I mean, well, Lion Sash it would help, but most of our creatures come in the form of equipments. So the 4 Mirrodin is what creates the creature token, so it would not get the +1 from Kumano. Just like here, since you're returning it to the battlefield transformed, it does not get the +1 from the Kumano. The Siege Veteran, however, will, and so that is a very bad threat. However, we come equipped with some removal spells, so we'll just go ahead and get rid of that. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and swing in. If he blocks, then he blocks. If not, then he takes 3 damage. I could drop the 1/1, but I think I want to hold up Rebel Salvo in case he has something going on here. He's probably going to double swing, which is fine. Now that I know he has Siege Veteran, I kind of want to keep up Rebel Salvo for that. So I think I'm just going to go ahead and take the damage. So now I have War Whip, which is going to be a 2/2 double strike, and Bladegraph Aspirant, both of which can block the etchings of Kumano one-on-one. I think I like War Whip. Unfortunately, equipping the Rabbit Battery to it would not take it out of Lightning Bolt range. So I think my best bet is just to attack. He can still bolt it. But he can bolt the Bladegraph Aspirant too. I don't really have a way around that. If I do drop Aspirant, I can put the Rabbit Battery on it. So he is, yep, gonna go ahead and kill it, which I thought he would. But honestly, if all he's doing is attacking me for 4 and I'm attacking him for 4, I'm kind of poised to win that race. So I'm tempted to just keep going with it. So whip does cost 5 to equip, so unfortunately I'm not going to be able to do much about that. I can put down aspirant, which will reduce it to 4, I believe. So I actually can equip the whip to it next turn. So equipping rabbit battery to the aspirant will protect it from a lightning bolt, but not a Nahiri's Warcrafting. So if that's the removal he's using, it's going to kill the aspirant whether I equip the battery or not. So I'm just wasting the mana. Alright, so he is planning on blocking next turn. Which means that he is probably out of removal, thinks that he is not in a very good position. If he had like burn spells up there, I think he'd keep attacking. So we're going to disrupt the Etchings of Kimano, swing on in. I don't think he has any burn. So Baird should be a good stick. Create another token, and I've got lethal next turn. Unless he plays a Chandra or something like that.
Burn Phyrexia to ash.
So that's gonna do me some damage. Copy his abilities or sorceries. I don't think that's gonna do much this turn though. He can add 2 mana, which can do a lightning bolt. He can burn some stuff.
You're toast.
Oh, -X. Okay, yeah. So he's got 4 mana left. So I can... Let's see, Lion Sash. Let's attach our rabbit battery. We'll attack in. So that's 3 damage. If I can exile a permanent, that should give me 4, and that is lethal through a Chandra. Wow! This hand looks pretty good. We've got both of our colors. We've got 2 mana for Crowbar into Baird, which will start producing us extra tokens. All the way up into Astor if we find another land. So we've got some pretty good cards here. So we'll start off with Sacred Peak. Yeah, it enters tap, but I don't have anything to do on turn 1 anyway. Okay, I do not have high hopes for this match because Zitor's Proving Ground means that opponent is probably on Domain, possibly Domain Control. Never mind, they're mana screwed, I guess. I don't know. I mean, thank you, opponent, for scooping that matchup because I don't think we win against Domain Control. But we were starting out very aggro. We were going to drop Baird next turn to start pumping out creature tokens. I mean, opponent didn't know that, but all they saw was Citizen's Crowbar and aggro, so... I mean, Citizen's Crowbar can get rid of a Leyline Binding. So you would have to use the Leyline Binding to either get rid of the Citizen's Crowbar, which is kind of a waste of a Leyline Binding, and I'm okay with that, or whatever you do exile with Leyline Binding, the Crowbar will just destroy it. So that is a very good card against the Domain Control deck, but I don't think that by itself is enough for him to scoop. I think he just had hand problems. He didn't have quite the hand that he wanted, and so because of where we are testing our deck at, he didn't get a very good hand to test his deck, so he just left. But that still counts as a win for us, right? Alright, so that was 5 wins, 1 loss with Rebel Armory in Standard. Does that mean this deck is phenomenal and you should go play it at your local game store right now and expect to win the entire tournament? No. We were testing it in unranked standard matches, which is basically where people go to test their decks to see if they function the way they should. So it's not necessarily going up against the full standard meta. It's just, here's a deck, does it work? Does my curve play out? And yeah, we actually saw that in a couple of our matches. The only deck we really lost to was Planeswalker Control, which we've got one Mythic in Nahiri, a couple rares, and that's it, honestly. If you get a deck that's half Mythic, it should beat a deck that is mostly commons and uncommons. I mean, so that was our only loss is a great testament to how well this deck plays. We actually got to see Rabbit Battery along with Lion's Sash and our Citizen's Crowbar all working together to win different matches. We saw Citizen's Crowbar destroy that Virtue of Persistence in Game 1. We got to see Lion's Sash exiling cards from graveyard, pumping up our creatures to enable them to take out our opponent there in that last game. Well, technically in Game 5. That last game, yeah, it was just opponent was just testing their deck. They didn't get a good hand, so they left. I mean, that's all that is. But still, a win is a win. And we got to see this deck do its thing with Nahiri drawing us cards, with Astor finding us our Lion's Sash, Rabbit Battery making him hasty so that he could run in, push that tempo. I mean, we got to see the deck do its thing really well. So does this deck work together? Yes, it does. Can we improve the deck? Obviously. But how do we do that? Honestly, I do like the Dragonwing Glider. I do like Danitha Benalia's Hope. Maybe we keep Danitha just because of the free drop out of the graveyard. This deck doesn't really have any other way of graveyard recursion. Dragonwing Glider, I think, will need to go. Maybe put in another Hoverwing. Maybe put in another Nahiri. But do kind of keep the deck lower. Keep the deck more aggro. Focus on your Rabbit Battery, your hasty threats. Baird going wide worked really well. Crowbar, we saw destroy artifacts and enchantments. There are a lot of enchantments in current standard. The one thing that this deck really needs more of, I would probably cut the Battle Hymns and put in more Rebel Salvos, because Battle Hymn only does 4 damage. Yeah, if it's kicked, you gain that 4 back as life, but Rebel Salvo does 5. The difference between a 4 mana battle or a 4 damage Battle Helm and a 5 damage Rebel Salvo is Sheoldred. Sheoldred is still a very big part of current standard. Especially since it also goes into the same decks that you'll find the Virtue of Persistence. So doubling up on our Crowbars, doubling up on our Rebel Salvo will help us to kind of dismantle that heavy black influence in current standard. Otherwise, maybe trim out some of the higher cost equipments, maybe bring in some of the lower cost. The only real difference between a Volshock Splitter and a Barbed Batterfist is that you can play this one on turn 2, whereas the Volshock Splitter is a 4-drop. You could use those mana slots for something more impactful, like a Hexgold Hoverwing. Kemba Conjuring we did not get to see in this playthrough, but he does give all of your equipped creatures +1/+1. He can bring in new cat tokens to replace your rebels as they die. So that would be a very good sideboard card against removal. Because he can keep replenishing the tokens. Of course, in that instance, they'll just kill Kemba. But to help counter that, you can put in cards like Plaza of Heroes. We don't have a whole lot of legends, but the legends that we do have, we do want to keep on the field. So putting something like Plaza of Heroes in can give a legendary creature hexproof and indestructible until end of turn to fizzle those removal spells. Surge of Salvation can prevent all damage from black or red sources, give everything hexproof to once again fizzle those removal spells. Lauren's Escape does the same thing. And Skrelv once again can give a target creature hexproof. He is a very big part of current standard 2. He's only 1 mana, and you can use him over and over to continually giving stuff hexproof. So I would definitely put in Skrelvs in your sideboard. Surge of Salvation possibly even gives all of your permanents hexproof. I mean, there's certainly things you can do to upgrade this deck. Let me know in the comments below what you would do to upgrade this deck and make it your own. I would really like to hear your comments, and maybe we can build an upgraded version of this at some point down the road. But I think that's about it for today. We've been going on quite a while. So like this video, comment down below what you would like to see going forward on this channel, and maybe we'll do it. I mean, if we get enough hits on this video, we'll go ahead and do some of the other starter decks, how those can be brought into standard. Let me know in the comments below what deck you would like to see next. And until then, I will see you in the next video.